In the pursuit of dominion, you will inevitably encounter the obstacle. Sometimes the obstacle is a market crash. Sometimes it's a failed technology. But most often, the obstacle is a human being. A toxic boss, a bitter competitor, a jealous peer, or a saboteur. The average man responds to these people with defensive anger. He fights back. He gossips. He lets their poison enter his own system. By reacting, he hands them a victory. He allows them to dictate his emotional state. The man of dominion does not react. He reframes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." But we go a step further. We don't just want not to be like them. We want to use them. Today, we are deploying the enemies to allies framework. We are learning how to neutralize human friction and turn the heat of a conflict into the fuel for your advancement. This is the Dominion Thesis. Section 1, the non-player character perspective. In 2026, the world is louder and more polarized than ever. People are stressed, underslept, and looking for a target for their frustration. The Stoic socialite views a difficult person not as a villain, but as a natural phenomenon. If you walk into a thunderstorm, you don't get angry at the rain. You just open your umbrella. If a dog barks at you, you don't bark back to prove you're right. When a person is difficult, they are simply acting according to their nature and their conditioning. By viewing them as non-player characters driven by internal scripts, you remove the personal sting. You don't get offended, you get analytical. You stop asking how could they do this? And start asking what is the leverage point here? Section 2, the Ben Franklin effect. There is a psychological paradox discovered by Benjamin Franklin. We like people better when we do a favor for them. If someone is your enemy, their ego is locked in a defensive posture against you. If you try to win them over with kindness, they suspect a trap. Instead, the Dominion leader asks them for a small, non-critical favor. "I know we've had our differences, but I respect your eye for detail. Could you look at this one paragraph?" By asking for help, you force their brain to resolve a cognitive dissonance. Their brain thinks, "I am helping this person, therefore I must not hate them as much as I thought." You have bypassed their armor by appealing to their vanity. In 2026, where everyone wants to feel important, the easiest way to neutralize an enemy is to make them feel useful. Section 3, the mirror of tranquility. Agitated people want to fight. They are fishing for a reaction to justify their own anger. If you give them the reaction, you are the fish on the hook. The Stoic response is radical composure. When they scream, you lower your voice. When they hurry, you slow down. When they try to insult you, you ask a clarifying question as if you were a scientist observing a specimen. That's an interesting perspective. What specific data led you to that conclusion? By remaining calm, you act as a mirror. Their own irrationality is reflected back at them until they become embarrassed by it. He who remains calm, wins. Not because he convinced the other, but because he maintained his sovereignty while the other lost theirs. Section 4, the strategic kiss of peace. Sometimes, an enemy is only an enemy because they are afraid of you. In the power dynamics of 2026, transparency is rare. People assume the worst. The kiss of peace is the act of proactively defining the relationship. Walk up to your competitor and say, "The market is big enough for both of us. If we stop trying to kill each other, we both save 20% on our legal and marketing budgets." How do we cooperate? You aren't being nice. You are being efficient. Turning a competitor into a co-appetitor is the ultimate move of dominion. It removes a threat and adds a resource with a single conversation. Section 5, the gray rock method for the unsalvageable. Some people cannot be turned into allies. They are truly maladaptive narcissists, sociopaths, or professional victims. For these people, the Stoic uses the gray rock method. You become as interesting as a gray rock. Give short, boring, non-committal answers. Do not share your wins. Do not share your losses. When they realize they cannot get an emotional hit or data from you, they will move on to a more interesting target. Dominion is not just about who you let into your circle, it is about who you quietly exclude without making a scene. Silence is the ultimate gatekeeper. Section 6, the discipline of the third person. When someone slanders you or speaks ill of you in the 2026 digital coliseum, your impulse is to defend your reputation. The Stoic remembers that his reputation is an indifferent. It is something that exists only in the minds of others. Epictetus said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses. Just answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone. By using humor and self-deprecation, you show that the enemy's words have no penetrative power. If you aren't hurt, they haven't won. A man who cannot be insulted is a man who cannot be controlled. Section 7, The Long Game of Integrity. In a world of snakes and backstabbers, being the man who is consistently fair and unshakable is a long-term social moat. Eventually, even your enemies will start to rely on your stability. They will realize that while you are a formidable opponent, you are not a petty one. In the turbulence of 2026, people are looking for lighthouses. If you treat your enemies with stoic justice, you become the person that even the difficult people trust. And trust is the ultimate currency of the social empire. Section 8, Conclusion. Do not wish for a world without difficult people. Wish for the skill to navigate them. An enemy is just a teacher you haven't thanked yet. They teach you patience. They teach you boundaries. They teach you where your ego is still soft. Apply the enemies to allies framework today. Neutralize the friction. Refuse the reaction. And remember, the man who can work with anyone can go anywhere. Stay unshakable. Stay sovereign. This is the Dominion Thesis.